Thanks for tuning in, Mountaineer Nation. It's Carson Fox here with the recap show of the West Virginia Mountaineers falling to the Kansas State Wildcats 45-18 on homecoming in a night game nationally televised on Fox. And what I want to do for tonight's program, a little bit different for a recap, is I want to tell this kind of in a narrative in three parts. I'll talk about before the game, I'll talk about during the game, and then I'll talk about my way home. And I'm telling it through my first person perspective because I was able to attend this game in person, as I kind of talked about on Thursday in the pre-show. So let's talk about it. So I did have fun in the tailgating. It was a wonderful time. Beautiful day. Weather was great. Food was awesome. It was a lot of fun. And then the game happened. But let's talk about the pregame first. What I want to say from that whole experience is it didn't matter whether you were young, old, tall, short, fat, skinny, any kind of shade of color of melanin. Didn't matter. I heard jokes about let's just have fun in like the sarcastic kind of tone the whole way from in the parking lot, standing in line for the Porta Johns, walking into the game. Didn't see anybody wearing any T-shirts or holding any signs. Kind of, I was thinking about doing that earlier in the week, but then was going to give him an opportunity to kind of defend himself Thursday night. And by that point in time, I just figured there's no point in even kind of like trying to make a sign. No banner was flown in an airplane over the stadium during the game, nothing like that. But you could just kind of tell that there was this like sarcastic, jokingly like coping mechanism among Mountaineer Nation trying to rationalize why we're once again spending the money to go to this game, spending on tickets, food, parking, making the investment once again to willingly hurt ourselves, emotionally through West Virginia football. Could have spent that evening any which way, watching a movie, watching other college football games, maybe taking a walk. Who knows? You could have spent that any which way you wanted to, but you chose, if you were a Mountaineer fan, to either watch from home on television, listen to the radio, or attend in person, which I was able to do so. And I kind of didn't like that to a certain extent. Yes, did I participate in that, talking to some fans? Yes, no doubt. Again, coping mechanism to get through it and rationalize my behavior. Did I, in my heart of hearts, have that same sort of feeling that I always get pregame of like, okay, West Virginia is going to go out there compete. They can compete with anybody. They might not win, but at least they're going to go out there, give a hard-fought game, and I'm glad to be here. Yes, no doubt, absolutely. And I think that is, at the end of the day, what Mountaineer fans sign up for, is that kind of feeling going into the game, excitement that if I can participate as a member in this audience here, that like I'm playing my role, I'm giving it my all, hopefully that the players reciprocate the favor. And here's what I will say is, okay, let's talk more still about the pregame, just one more second, is like I don't want that to ever change. But by the postgame, like kind of foreshadowing, I'm starting to feel a whole different way. So the game itself, starting off, why West Virginia decided to receive instead of get the ball for the second half, just the way in which this season has gone, again, against a better opponent. I don't know if necessarily if you're so worried on the very first possession, lots of energy, home crowd showed up, right on time for kickoff. Crowd looked great. From what I saw in my perspective in section 108. Couldn't see the student section above me, but you know what I mean. And the defense came out there. Yeah, the offense shot itself in the foot, 3 plays and out. Then the defense came up, started out stout. So great tackling there, giving it their effort. Awesome, love that. Just looking like Oklahoma State all over again, the way they fired after DJ Giddens. West Virginia gets the ball back, about 10:43 in the first quarter, go on like a 6-play drive. Garrett Green throws an interception. Now, the pass to Traylon Ray wasn't the greatest pass ever, so I'm putting about 80% on Garrett, maybe 75. But there is that 20 to 25% that I put on Traylon Ray, and it just seems as if that's been the Bryce Ford Whedon half-assed approach in a couple of games this year. Pitt notably, I think Penn State kind of happened the same way, is Traylon Ray, when the ball isn't like 100% catchable or whatever, he gives up a little too easily, too quickly. When I think if he tries to play through the play, even if he doesn't complete the catch, this one, he ricochets off his hands right into the hands of Jack Fabris of Kansas State, and they take over. Favorable field position at their own 37-yard line. They get the ball. Now, first quarter, so the way that the game's starting out, there's that hope of like, okay, the effort going to be differently, or the approach or the strategy. So far, 2 series, you're already like that kind of heartburn type of feeling already. You can feel it in your chest starting to boil up a little bit. Probably need to go to the concession stand and get another beer at this point in time. But the defense stands up on its on its back, and they get Kansas State down, even though down right near the West Virginia red zone, get them off on a pivotal 3rd and 8 play, give up a 4-yard reception to Garrett Oakley, have to kick a field goal. So 3-0 Kansas at that point in time. And you think to yourself, okay, 2 defensive possessions in a row, and West Virginia, stands on its head, doesn't give up any sort of a big play like that. The tackling, the effort is there. So then West Virginia gets the ball back. It goes all the way down the field. Got an pass interference call on Traylon Ray to pick up 15 yards. Garrett Green has a really nice 28-yard rush at this point in time, kind of putting it all on his shoulders to run. Michael Hayes, 44-yard field goal, looking like himself again. So, all right, 3-3. Defense is like playing well. Offense, maybe just like Garrett's checked out of his funk, threw that pick, got it out of his system at that point in time, and now he's making big plays out there. So now we reach the end of the first quarter, last minute, and bam, 1 play to Jaden Jackson for 24 yards, and then there's the 60-yard bomb, just like the Jalen Noel type of shot play the week prior with Iowa State. Kansas State does this same thing, putting too many defensive backs close up to the box, not enough over-the-top help, just not good defensive coverage once again. Easy pitch and catch. And that's what I'll say for this entire day with Avery Johnson, not to kind of go big picture looking at the game as a whole. But my strategy coming into this game was you were going to have to try and sell out the run and see what Avery Johnson was going to do on this day. Was he going to throw passes high? Was he going to be a bit erratic? Hadn't been as stellar passing the ball as he was in this game against West Virginia as he was against any of Kansas State's 6 opponents at this point in time. So, okay, they got you. You played too close to the box. They went over the top on you. Okay, it's still just a 7-point game. End of the first quarter, you can bounce back. Well, then the stupidest play of the game, stupidest play from a mental standpoint, is Garrett Green throws a pick 6. Now, at this point in time, and I'm not using this as an excuse, I'm just telling you the narrative of the story. At this point in time, this Michael Vandervelde-led officiating crew was really going after West Virginia's offensive linemen for holding. Now, I know, I talked about this pregame. Kansas State was a Big 12 sack leader at this point in time, had one of the best rush defenses in the country. West Virginia really struggling to run the ball on this day. But it just seemed like at this point, even just at the beginning of the second quarter, that this Michael Vandervelde-led officiating crew missed about 2 or 3 offsides calls that just were not called, but then they would flag West Virginia for holding. And that's what happened on this series. It pushed West Virginia back to the 24-yard line, 1st and 20. C.J. Donaldson gets a rush for 9, gets for 2, now 3rd and 9. I think there were trips on the left side or something like that, but it was well defended, well covered. And for whatever reason, Garrett Green just threw it right in the hands of Marcus Sigel of Kansas State. I mean, right to him. It wasn't like, I don't know if there was some sort of a miscommunication between the two of them, but it was like, that is the one play that you cannot afford deep in your own end, like on your side of the field in your own territory, and they run it back to the house for 6. So now you're down 2 scores, 17-3. You have no confidence as a fan that this is going to be like an Oklahoma State game and West Virginia is going to be playing with a lead. You know, by this point in time, this is going to be one of those games that West Virginia is going to have to fight tooth and nail just to be able to compete in. And at this point in time, Kansas State, yes, hasn't run the ball well. I think in the first half they had under 10 yards rushing. Like, the fact that West Virginia on this day held Kansas State to less than half of its per game rushing average says a lot. So it really does make a statement. But, and DJ Giddens held under, I think, 50 yards rushing, his lowest outpoint of the season. But all then Avery Johnson really had to do was just nickel and dime West Virginia all night long, really efficient, really looked effortless at times, just like he was really playing darts, just shooting darts all over the field for easy completions. Didn't have to do anything too risky, and West Virginia just didn't, make a play in coverage. So he surgically picked West Virginia apart, very similarly to how Rocco Beck did on third down the week prior. So great. So you cannot afford to turn the ball over after you've already thrown an interception at this point in time, and he goes and he throws a pick 6. So you feel devastated at that point. At least I did. And I think that that's how Mountaineer Nation in the crowd was, like, pretty. I mean, it turned pretty quickly there on Garrett Green. I mean, to the point of, like, I could feel and hear the vitriol in some of the fans wanting Garrett Green off the field. I think all of the this is so, like, saddening to say for how much goodwill that he built up for years with Mountaineer Nation, especially throughout that 2023 season a year ago. And now he's just about to the point of, like, Austin Kendall, Jarrett Deggy. I don't think it'll ever get to Jarrett Deggy level, but let's just say all of the positive vibes for Garrett Green thrown out the door at that point in time on that pick 6. Already the feeling of, like, into the second quarter, let's see what Nico Marchiol can do. So West Virginia comes back out onto the field, goes on a nice drive, started out at the West Virginia 30, went all the way down the field. Another big rush by Garrett Green on this point in time in the field, just trying to play hero ball. Gets all the way down, pass in on an inside slant out of the slot by Hudson Clement, 3rd and 7 kind of play. Really good throw, really good coverage by Kansas State that Hudson Clement just fought through the defender and was able to score 6. So 17-10, Kansas State gets back the ball. West Virginia gets another third down stop defensively. Good punt by Simon McClannon, knocks West Virginia down to the 8. So West Virginia's got 5:09, has all of its timeouts, has the 2-minute timeout. So more than enough time to use the clock, work methodically down the field. Okay, you can exhale a little bit. You've scored a touchdown. You're proving, at least with your quarterback, that you can run the ball, not necessarily your running backs, but just need a little bit more. So on this drive, Rodney Gallagher has a 10-yard rush. Cole Taylor has a really nice reception along the sideline for 34 yards where he got behind the defense. Another Garrett Green rush for 18 yards on this situation, nearing the K-State red zone. Another holding penalty costs West Virginia 10, but Green makes up for it with an 11-yard rush. Then he has a reception to Garrett Green. Oh, then this is where he has another rush on 3rd and 6 up the gut and gets his helmet almost ripped off his face. I mean, very similar fashion of viciousness as the Clint Trickett decapitation in 2014 at home. But the refs are really, really reluctant to throw the flag at this point in time on him. It took the Vandervelde, the back judge. Mind you, Green's running this way. The back judge behind him is the one who throws the flag, not any of the 3 officials who are looking at him from any which way. But when the fans went crazy about that, and it was just about to be shown on replay, flag comes in. So thank God West Virginia gets that call in that situation. Picking up, I don't think they would have gotten a first down at that point in time. So you're now 1st and 10 at the K-State 12. You have more than enough time. You've used the 2-minute timeout. West Virginia gets to 3rd and 9, gets down to a 4th and 1, and calls its second timeout. So it has one more remaining with 28 seconds left at the K-State 3. And it was really maybe 3/4 of a yard. It wasn't a full yard. So very much PTSD, backyard brawl 2022. Why, oh why, does C.J. Donaldson not get the ball in this yard? And like the reason why you don't take the points here, and I know I've been critical of Neil Brown and his decisions this year of going for it on 4th down whenever he should take the points. In this situation, again, knowing that Kansas State was getting the ball out of the half, to tie it at 17 when points are at a premium for this offense against this K-State defense, the way that the evening had gone, to get to 17 points with a pick 6, with another interception, like you needed this. You needed 7. You're 4th and less than a yard, and you don't hand the ball to C.J. Donaldson to plunge it in for a first down. Because you can take a timeout thereafter. The chains would stop for a first down. So you have time, call a play, get back to the line of scrimmage. At that point, you're 2 yards out? So you could do another plunge to Donaldson at that point in time. Or if you don't get it, you still have another timeout to play with. So to drop back and pass, Green running around like a chicken with his head cut off trying to make a play, throws it, no chance for an incompletion. He kind of almost like a bounce pass in basketball. No chance. I just was like, what are we doing? How in the world, as the head coach, you do not call a 4th and 1 H-back dive through the A-gap at that point in time? That's football 101. That's the Seattle Seahawks trying to be cute and throwing it on, inside the goal line against the Patriots and not handing the ball off to Marshawn Lynch. Everybody around me was thinking that too. And I think that was the disgust of which then at, halftime, I go up toward the concession stands and there's a heavy flow of people starting to leave. Just knowing that, you just got punched in the gut, didn't convert on that, had the pick 6. There's no way with the vibes and the juju that are unfortunately negatively swirling around this program that you feel as if even at home during a night game that West Virginia is going to make a comeback and win this one. So you're just sitting on pins and needles, waiting for the halftime show to conclude, to get back on the field, see if West Virginia maybe can get a stop. And if it does, okay, you got to score. And you know what I mean? It's just like the momentum meter was never in doubt for K-State on this evening. Was never in doubt. And that's what's so hard to, such a large pill to swallow as a Mountaineer fan. Is that it can never be West Virginia just can't beat good teams throughout this Neil Brown era, clearly by this 3-17 record against ranked opponents. But it's like if you're my age or older, you remember the era when West Virginia played good football, could do exactly what Kansas State was doing to West Virginia, and not doing anything hard, not really having to be really risky with the way that it called plays, just could take advantage of the other team for one reason or another, whether it was lack of talent or you had better talent or they were going to make mistakes and you weren't, that you were just going to play sound, fundamental, disciplined football. And it just felt like at that point in time at halftime that West Virginia is so far from that it almost feels as if it's a different program. That this isn't West Virginia. The Pat White, Steve Slayton, Geno Smith, Tavon Austin, Stedman Bailey, Will Greer, David Sills, West Virginia, that's a foreign concept. That is a whole different program than what Neil Brown has done to West Virginia. I mean, the psyche. I don't know what you say in that locker room. I know at that point in time, or something happened in which Wyatt Milam, Jaheim White, checking Twitter, and Garrett Green all were not emerging for the second half. I don't know whether it's concussion symptoms. Maybe we'll get an update on the Monday press conference. I wonder what Neil Brown's going to do for an encore this upcoming Monday. But the injuries to those three star players for West Virginia, already down Aubrey Burks on this day. But again, at this point in time, and for 5 out of 6 times this season, you can maybe count the Albany game, but it's hard to count that as an FCS opponent, that in the name of complementary football, the West Virginia offense is not doing enough to support the defense. And it's like enraging me. It just makes me feel so defeated as a fan to try and make these arguments and come on these shows and give you stats and analytics and stuff when this offense just looked so bad in comparison to just a year ago. They did not pick up after that Duke's Mayo Bowl and get better. So, dereliction of duty, I feel like, by Neil Brown and the rest of the coaching staff throughout the spring, throughout the summer, throughout the, late summer for fall camp, of readying these starters to play as high-powered, even as they did in 2023, but trying to make the argument all summer, myself included, that this was the best West Virginia offense, at least on paper, that we were going to see since 2018. This offense has regressed. Everybody, unfortunately. So it permeates from the head coach, this loser mentality, this empty chip bag, visor-wearing, know-nothing. And it, unfortunately, is bringing down the potential of a quarterback that was trying to contend for, one of the best quarterbacks in the Big 12, this running back combo, 5 starters across your offensive line who are in their 4th year or older in this up-and-coming wide receiving and tight end core. So to only score 10 points, 2 turnovers, one of them be a pick six. I think at this point in time at half that West Virginia dominated the time of possession 20 minutes to 9. And to get that, it just felt like you were, cheering on a losing battle. So into the third quarter, Avery Johnson and co. go right down the field. And I think this is where the straw that broke the camel's back. Unfortunately, and it was, early, was 4th and 5 at the West Virginia 40. So you have, right there, if, hold on. Kansas State started this drive at its own 26-yard line, gets all the way to the West Virginia 40, 4th and 5. Sean Martin has Avery Johnson in his grasp over at the sideline, trying to bring him down. You flashbacks to the backyard brawl of so many times that this defensive line got to Eli Holstein only to just get hands on him and not bring him down. And this was the straw that broke the camel's back. Johnson gets out of the tackle, escapes, finds enough time, finds a man open at the boundary, hits Ty Bowman for a first down completion. And just, all the air gets sucked out of the stadium. Because, unfortunately, West Virginia's just had this case this year when on a 3rd or 4th down, You really feel like you need a stop for this offense. They don't get it. And then on the very next play, the team goes for the jugular and scores. And that's what it felt. It just felt inevitable that Kansas State was going to score. They get all the way down to the score on to Garrett Oakley. Really good pass, really good coverage even by Jaheim Joseph. But Garrett Oakley just kind of fought through the contact, hit him right where it needed to, and Kansas State gets the luck. West Virginia can't get the luck. They're cursed. They're just cursed. Another case in point on this night. Cursed, in the right position to make the play, and Kansas State completes the play to score. And at that point in time, 24-10. West Virginia gets the ball back. And at this point in time, they bring Nico Marchiol out onto the field. Fans are going crazy, thinking, okay, this is our chance. Nico, he can do it. He's our man. If he can't do it, no one can. So terrible series. I don't know what the play calls were supposed to be. I don't know what Nico was doing, but it looked like a guy who unfortunately hadn't taken a snap for the entire season. And I don't know why. Just bad. Rush over to the loss of a yard. K-State came after him. Looked like it was kind of a broken play that he was just trying to make something out of nothing. Then an incompletion. Then he runs for it again, trying to go up the middle. Gets nowhere. 3-and-out punt. And Kansas State gets the ball back. This is when it's on teetering of like, this is ugly. This is going to be it. 8:05 in the third quarter. Kansas State goes on, a drive. Johnson has a completion to DJ Giddens for 53 yards. Guys are trying to chase him down the field, knock him down. We think he scores. I kind of thought he scored on that play, but got him down at the 1. West Virginia forces it to a 3rd and 1. But Johnson gets an easy pass to Will Ancho for a touchdown, 31-0. And at that point in time, 4 minutes and 42 seconds, you think, okay. Unfortunately, I have this pretty good ability. I say pretty good, but I think a lot of people who are football fans or watch football for as many years as I have, you kind of know when it is it. You know when the probability and the chances to just make a comeback, that the way the game is going, at least if you're a West Virginia fan, for whatever reason, I have this ability, I feel like. So you think, okay, 31-10 now. The offense is going absolutely nowhere. Didn't get the touchdown when it needed to before the half. If it doesn't score here, this game's over. There's no way they're making a 21-point comeback the way that this night is going with Neil Brown as the head coach. And they do exactly that. Do get a first down because of a defensive holding penalty. Get another first down. Get all the way to the Kansas State 37. 4th and 5. Trying to throw for Cole Taylor. Incomplete pass. Turnover on downs at the K-State 37. Only 45 seconds left in the third quarter. And that is when myself, my mom, my dad, and my friend who were there, we all started vacating. Call me what you want. Call me a fair weather fan. At this point in time, it's almost, 11 o'clock or whatever. We had an hour or so drive home. I'm sleeping just about 4 hours the night before because of my new baby girl. So I'm not arguing the way that this game's going. Like, let's go. Let's walk all the way back to the green lot, get out of here, try and beat some traffic a little bit and get on the highway. And it's just sad, man. It's sad. It's sad listening to the play-by-play with Tony Caridi. It's sad that seeing on Twitter of how many fans left that game by the end of the game. The stadium looked less sparser or like less filled during this game than the spring game by the time that this game was over. So you have an injured Garrett Green, you have an injured Wyatt Milam, you have an injured Jaheim White, no Aubrey Burks on this day, TJ Jackson's playing hurt, and you get embarrassed. And there's no even point about talking about the rest of this game because At that point in time, what does the defense, if the offense can't move the ball whatsoever, what is the point for the defense? It's not even worth talking about the game from there on out. So the game was really over 3 quarters in, one fewer quarter than you need to. So again, you look at some of the numbers on this day of how West Virginia, I felt like, really did a good job defensively in some areas, especially I talked about that rush defense. But the pass defense not coming up to play because of Avery Johnson, 19 of 29, had a QBR of 96.5, so he was nearly perfect on the day. 298 yards, his season best, 3 touchdowns. Yeah, you hold him to 119 yards rushing. So mission accomplished there, but doesn't mean anything on the scoreboard when you lose by over 3 touchdowns. And then, once again, that this offense is just anemic. C.J. Donaldson, only 12 carries for 34 yards. And Jaheim White, I know he didn't play in the second half, but 7 carries for 18 yards. Neil Brown is just wasting this season for both of these guys. I mean, wasting this year's worth of eligibility, what West Virginia's paying them in name, image, and likeness. It's just not happening. And it all goes back to what I talked about a few videos ago when I tried to argue about West Virginia trying to run more of its 2-minute offense for a complete 4 quarters, try and go more up-tempo, vertical attack in the passing game, like what we experienced through the Dana Holgorsen era. And again, a lot of people believe me, had a few detractors that I debated on social media, and I stick by what I said, because not only West Virginia isn't scoring enough at this point in time, but it's just so easy to scheme for them. I mean, if this game isn't perfect example, is like West Virginia, how many completions of 30 yards or more has West Virginia had during this season? Those big plays that they had to Devin Carter and others just aren't happening this year. Had a couple that the West Virginia tried in this contest, and thankfully did get pass interference calls. So why is Neil Brown so risk averse of trying to throw the ball downfield routinely? Because that's how, if another team knows what you're going to do and you still call it anyway, you're just delusional. And that's what they continue to do week in and week out. Neil Brown admitted it in one of those press conferences. I gave you the video. You can go back and watch it. Is he knows how other teams scheme against him. So why do you do what they expect you to do? And that's what I argued all offseason, is that West Virginia had enough talent both in the pass game and the rush game and what they brought along the offensive line for protection to be able to do either or against any opponent. And now other teams have figured out the way Neil Brown and Chad Scott strategize games. So do different. Like even Oklahoma State Friday night gave up on Alan Bowman, went to Garrett Rangel. I'm not like saying that right now, pregame, that the quarterback change was the answer. I just think that trying to do what they've done this season from an offensive play calling standpoint has not worked. It just hasn't. I don't think that Zach Frazier and Doug Nestor made this much of a difference to take West Virginia's offense from what was, a borderline A, but probably B grade offense nationally, and now they're not even average. They're not even C grade. They're turning the ball over at will. So, kind of bigger picture being, I guess you could say, about the quarterback scenario, have to obviously see about how healthy Garrett Green is. Will he be able to play against Arizona? I think that's to be determined. How he feels, how he practices, can he travel on the road? I would give him this one more game. I think he's earned it, again, being a fifth-year senior. He did at points and times in this games using his legs, try and keep West Virginia into the game, giving it his heart, his soul, his body, putting it out on the line, trying to make rushing plays. Unfortunately, just The 2 interceptions were devastating, especially the second one. So I'm willing to give him one more game against an Arizona defense that has been subpar this season. You need his senior leadership and maturity on the road. He's got a short leash. If it's that performance or worse, it's Nico Marchiol for the rest of 2024. So you give him an extra week's worth to prepare and then turn to him. Because if he's going to be the starter for 2025, he needs the Cincinnati, Baylor, UCF, and Texas Tech game to go out there and get himself ready for 2025. There's no point. I mean, even if West Virginia wins the remainder of its games, which I feel is highly unlikely, in probably the single digits probability, even if West Virginia wins its bowl game, it does no better than it did a season ago. And that's just not good enough. I know beating Oklahoma State, I talked about this pregame. I might be moving the goalposts here a little bit. I said I feel like you needed to win at least 2 of the 5, maybe 3 of the 5 between Kansas, Iowa State, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, and Arizona. And they still have that chance, but you lost the backyard brawl. You looked terribly against Penn State. Now, bigger picture is how I feel post-game afterwards, to complete my narrative of this video, is I feel as if West Virginia is on the precipice of becoming an unserious Division I Power 4 football program. And I know that's, whoa, bold. I'm dropping a hammer, like boom. But now that Vanderbilt is ranked this week, West Virginia is now one of only 3 programs in the last 6 years, with Rutgers and Texas Tech, to not be ranked in the Associated Press poll. And now this fan base, again, I don't care if you were, how old you were, guy, girl, everybody was making fun of Neil Brown on the walk back to the car. Everybody. I mean, we feel so disgusted, feel so disappointed, so numb. It's to the point where I feel like the passion is getting sucked out of the program. I don't know how anybody wants to come back if he's the head coach there for even these last 2 remaining games in November. And so many different programs have fired their head coach for so much less than what Neil Brown has done at West Virginia in 6 seasons, and you have to move on. So I'm starting to feel as if West Virginia is becoming, the longer Neil Brown is here, like becoming like the Pirates, of we're not a serious contending team. What he said at his press conference is ringing true, that we should just be satisfied with having good weather, having fun tailgates, and playing the game, but you're not going to win. And that is not a serious take in 2024 with the investment that teams and fans have to put into competing as a program. He is a cancer. He is costing this team. That these players are not so bad of how they perform on the field. It's that they have just a loser mentality at the head coaching position, who does not know how to motivate these guys. I think he's lost the locker room. I mean, I know I'm not in there, but it's just like the kinds of what I see on TV. I know that like the popular personality right now to like, whoa, doggone, that how come West Virginia didn't fire Neil Brown 2 seasons ago to go get Curt Cignetti, former James Madison head coach, now at Indiana. 1 year of revitalization, and now they're 7-0 and in the top, 15, 20 in the country. And that could be West Virginia. So I don't know if I want to go for this video down the rabbit hole of what's the better move? Fire him and then like the Huggins situation, risk losing all the players. At some point in time, as hard as it may seem for West Virginia to, inevitably lose some of its players, you're going to lose anyway by having this man as the head coach of the program. He doesn't bring enough to the table that I feel like you could find any other Jimmy or Joe across the country and put him on the sideline and give him the same responsibilities that Neil Brown does. And Neil Brown is far and by away going to do a better job than any sort of Jimmy and Joe on the sideline. Like, that's just the way I feel. And I bet there's other Mountaineer fans who feel the same way as me. So I'd love to hear your comments. Leave them here on YouTube. If you like this video, unfortunately, as disappointing as it is, I really appreciate if you hit that like button so more Mountaineer fans can see it. Love to have you as subscribers to my channel, getting close to 400. Really appreciate that now, almost two full football seasons in. Just tell your friends, tell your family, tell your dog that I do this each and every week and have a lot of fun doing it. I'll be back later this week. I don't know what I'm going to necessarily get into this week, but definitely want to talk basketball. Been doing some research over the last week. Did watch the game Friday night, the exhibition against Charleston, so I got some thoughts on the Mountaineer Ballers. I think I'm finally ready. I think I'm emotionally prepared after all the damage that I've taken over the last, 18 months or so since the firing of Bob Huggins. To be able to talk about these ballers, and I'm motivated and I'm passionate. I'm not feeling that way about this football program. And I think you're probably feeling that until West Virginia decides, and I hate that it comes to this, that it's going to fall on the boot when West Virginia is trying to transition to paying the kind of money to contend with the big boys of the SEC and the Big Ten to try and fund NIL up to what they can in-house to pay these players, and then asking, let's go pay $12 million to buy out Neil Brown. How much are we going to pay on top of that to pay for a new football coach, buy out the staff, all of those things? It's so sad and so sorry that it has to come to this. But unless West Virginia collectively, not just the administration, but boosters, the big wigs who spend a lot more and have a whole lot more money than I do, until they make the decision to fire Neil Brown, immediately, this program is stuck. This program is stuck in purgatory, and irrelevance is worse than the volatility of having one bad year to then have a good year. There was so much, I feel like, hope put into this 2024 roster, into this season, and now you're 3-4. You're one of the laughing stocks of college football. You're not Florida State bad, don't mind you, but your coach just embarrassed you as a program, on a national story within this past week. So now it's not like West Virginia, Mountaineer Nation, ESPN reporting that it'll be 70% Mountaineer fans, or all of the goodwill and all that West Virginia achieved through the 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s. It's now you are unfortunately connected to, identified, paired with, strapped to Neil Brown. And he is just like a ball of suck. And you need to get rid of him as soon as humanly possible to turn the page and move forward. Whether that's with Anthony Becht, whether that is with Jamie Chadwell at Liberty, that's the next step. You have to make this decision to fire him. And that's what I'm going to be waiting for. That's what I'm going to be waiting for. That's what everybody else in Milan Puskar Stadium last night. He has no fans left. He has no supporters left. He's on an island that you just need to cut ties. I think he wants that too. I would not be surprised if Neil Brown is out of coaching after this season. That I just think he wants his buyout money. He wants to go home. He wants to play with his kids. I think that this has taken such a toll on him of everything from COVID, from NIL, from everything that he's had to deal with the fan base, trying to establish his identity, trying to establish this program, and it's just failure, 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 every which way. I mean, I would hate it personally if I was him, to just constantly, be in this bubble all this time, put your heart and soul and sacrifice to what you think you're doing is going to positively benefit the organization of which you're a part, and to just constantly fail and fail and fail. You would just have to think at one point in time, I'm cursed, or does he have these moments in the mirror where he's looking just what am I doing? Maybe I'm just not cut out for this. Maybe I'm better. And I think this was a really well said earlier this week on, I think it was the West by Pod. Hadn't ever heard of them until earlier this week, but just maybe he's situated maybe for the G5 Division II level, That was some place where the expectations and the demands aren't set so much on him that like he can go out there, he can do some things differently or his way, have his influence, and maybe he'll have a turnaround somewhere. But it's not at West Virginia. It's not going to happen. He needs to be ousted immediately. Thanks for tuning in. Hail West Virginia. Let's go.